I lost everything, my business, my family, my life. And sometimes I still hear it from inside the mirror, a faint sound like something is trying to come through. My name is Asher Collins. I live in Texas. What I am about to tell you is not just a story, it's a curse that destroyed my entire life. 10 years ago, I had everything a man could ever ask for. I owned one of the biggest department stores in Houston. Business was booming. Every day I made more money than I could spend. But I wasn't careless. I saved, I planned, I stayed grounded. I lived with my parents. I was their only son. They were proud of me, and I did everything I could to make them happy. Life was simple, peaceful, perfect. Then came the day that changed everything. My wedding day. It was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Everything was ready. Guests were arriving. The house was full of laughter and excitement. I was in my room getting ready. And then it happened. Out of nowhere, a huge snake appeared on the floor. I froze. I didn't understand how it got there. Our house was clean, secure. There was no way a snake could just appear like that. Before I could react, it moved. Vast, and within seconds, it bit my leg. The pain was unbearable. I screamed and collapsed. Everything became blurry after that. I remember people shouting, someone calling an ambulance, my mother crying. Then darkness. When I woke up, I was in a hospital. Machines were beeping around me. My body felt weak. A doctor told me something I will never forget. You're lucky to be alive. The venom was extremely dangerous. You shouldn't have survived. But I did. And now I wish I didn't. After a week, I was discharged. Everyone said it was just an unfortunate accident. Maybe the snake somehow got into the house. But deep inside, I felt something was wrong. Still, life had to go on. We decided to arrange the wedding again. This time we kept it simple, fewer guests, less noise. Everything was going fine, until I saw it again. The same snake, right in front of me. It was on the table near the priest, raising its head, staring directly at me. My heart stopped. I screamed at the top of my lungs. The snake, it's right there. Everyone looked at me, confused, terrified, but not because of the snake, because of me. There's nothing there, they said, but I could see it, clear as day, moving slowly, watching me. And then everything went black. When I woke up, I was back home. Everyone surrounded me. They kept asking me what happened. I told them about the snake, but no one believed me. Not my parents, not my friends, no one. They said it was in my head, that I was traumatized from the bite. But I knew what I saw. It was real. The wedding was canceled again. People started whispering. Something was wrong with me. That's what they thought. My mother became worried. She brought a charm from a religious man and made me wear it. She said it would protect me. I didn't believe in those things, but I didn't argue. The third time, we kept everything private. Only close family. No crowd. No noise. And finally, I got married. Her name was Emily. She was kind, calm, and understanding. At least at first. The first night after our marriage, something strange happened. The next morning, Emily looked disturbed. She asked me something that made my blood run cold. What were you saying last night? I told her I didn't remember saying anything. She stared at me. You were talking in your sleep, but it wasn't English. I couldn't understand a single word. I laughed it off. I thought she was joking, but she wasn't smiling. Then she said something I will never forget. You kept saying, leave him, he's going to die, leave him. My smile disappeared. I had no memory of that. Not even a single word. I tried to ignore it. I told myself it was nothing. But deep inside, something felt very wrong. A few days later, we planned our honeymoon. We were supposed to fly to Switzerland. Everything was ready. Our bags were packed. We were about to leave. And then, my mother collapsed. Just like that. No warning. No signs. She fell to the ground, and within seconds she was gone. Dead. The house that was filled with happiness just moments ago turned into a place of mourning. I couldn't believe it. She was fine just minutes ago. Laughing, smiling. And then gone. Just like that. After her death, everything changed. My father became silent. He locked himself in his room. He barely spoke to anyone. I tried to talk to him, but he wouldn't respond. Then one night, something happened. I heard a knock on my door. It was late. Very late. I opened the door. My father was standing there. He was smiling. That wasn't normal. Not after what happened. He looked at me and said, "Asher, your mother is back." My heart skipped a beat. I thought he was imagining things. Grief can do that to people. I tried to calm him down, but then he said something that chilled me to the bone. "She's in my room, I saw her." I didn't know what to say. I took him back to his room and made him lie down. I stayed with him for a while until he calmed down. I thought it was over, but I was wrong. The next morning, he said it again, and this time it was worse. He looked at me, completely serious, and said, "She's here right now, sitting next to you." I slowly turned my head. There was no one there, but my father kept staring at that empty chair, as if someone was really sitting there, talking, listening, smiling. And that's when I realized something had entered our lives. Something we couldn't see, but it could see us. And it wasn't going to leave. After that day, nothing felt normal anymore. I tried to convince myself that my father was just grieving, that he couldn't accept my mother's death. But deep inside, something kept telling me this was not just grief. My father started behaving strangely. At first, it was small things. He would talk to himself, or at least that's what I thought. But then I realized he wasn't talking to himself. He was talking to someone. Someone I couldn't see. He would sit alone in the dining room and speak softly, as if someone was sitting across from him. Sometimes he would even laugh. That sound, it didn't feel right. It echoed through the house in a way that made my skin crawl. One evening, I saw something that I can never forget. My father placed 2 plates on the table, one for himself and one for my mother. He looked at the empty chair and said, "You should eat before it gets cold." I stood there frozen. I didn't know whether to cry or to run. I tried to stop him. I told him, "Dad, she's gone, she's not here." But he got angry. He looked straight at me and said, "Stop saying that, she's right here. Why can't you see her?" That question, it haunted me. Why couldn't I see her? Because she wasn't there, right? Or was she? I decided to call a doctor. A psychiatrist came to our house. He spoke with my father for a long time. After that, he told me it was severe trauma. He said my father couldn't accept the loss, so his mind created an illusion. He gave some medicine and told me everything would be fine. But everything was not fine. Days passed and nothing changed. My father still saw her, still talked to her, still believed she was alive. And sometimes, I started feeling like he wasn't completely wrong, because I also started noticing things. Strange things. Unexplainable things. At night, I would hear footsteps in the hallway. Slow, heavy footsteps. as if someone was walking back and forth. But every time I checked, no one was there. Doors would open by themselves. Lights would turn off and on. And sometimes I heard whispers, very close to my ear. But when I turned around, there was no one. I stopped sleeping properly. Every night felt longer than the last. And then one night, something happened that changed everything. I woke up suddenly. I don't know why, but I felt like something was wrong. The room was dark, too quiet. I looked beside me. Emily was not in bed. At first, I thought she went to the bathroom. But then I noticed something. She was standing in the corner of the room, facing the wall, completely still. I called her name. Emily. No response. I sat up slowly. My heart was beating fast. Emily, what are you doing? Still nothing. Then she started whispering. A low, broken whisper. But it wasn't English. It wasn't any language I knew. It sounded ancient, unnatural. My body froze. I slowly got out of bed and took a step closer. And then she turned her head. Her eyes were closed, but she was smiling. That smile, it was not hers. It was something else, something dark. I stepped back in fear. Emily, wake up. She didn't move. Instead, she slowly raised her hand and pointed at the wall. I didn't want to look, but something forced me to. And when I did, I saw it. A shadow, but not like a normal shadow. It was moving, on its own. There was nothing casting it. No light source, no object. But it was there, alive. It stretched across the wall, growing larger, darker. My breathing became heavy. I couldn't move. And then, it started coming off the wall, like it was peeling itself away, becoming something real. I stumbled back and fell to the floor. At that exact moment, Emily collapsed. The room went silent. The shadow disappeared. Everything was normal again. I rushed to Emily and shook her. She slowly opened her eyes, confused. What happened? She asked. I couldn't answer, because I didn't know how to explain what I just saw. From that night, I knew this was real. This was not in my head. Something was inside my house. Something that could take forms, control people, and watch us. The next day, things got even worse. Our housemaid came to me, shaking. She looked terrified. Sir, I saw someone outside, she said. I asked her who. Her answer made my heart stop. Your mother. I ran outside immediately. But there was no one there. The maid swore she saw her, sitting near the gate with a child. A child. That didn't make sense. My mother never had any other children. I started to understand something horrifying. Whatever was appearing, it wasn't her. It was pretending to be her. That same day, the maid left the job. She didn't even wait for her payment. She just left, like she was running for her life. And maybe she was. Things between me and Emily started getting worse. We argued almost every day. She thought I was losing my mind. She wanted me to see another doctor. But I refused, because I knew no doctor could fix this. This wasn't mental. This was something else. Something evil. One night after a huge argument, Emily went to sleep early. I stayed awake, sitting in the dark, thinking about everything, trying to understand why this was happening. And then, I heard it. A soft tapping sound. Tap, tap, tap. I looked up slowly. It was coming from the mirror. My reflection was there. but something felt wrong. Very wrong. I raised my hand slowly, but my reflection didn't move. My heart stopped. I stood there frozen. And then, my reflection smiled. But I wasn't smiling. It leaned closer, as if it was trying to come out. That's when I screamed. Emily woke up and turned on the lights. Everything was normal again. But I knew what I saw. And that's when I realized, this thing, whatever it is, it's getting stronger. And it's not going to stop until it destroys everything I have left. After that night, I stopped trying to find logical explanations. There was no logic left in my life. Everything that was happening, it was beyond normal, beyond science, beyond anything I could understand. I knew one thing for sure. Something was inside my house. Something that didn't belong in this world. And it was getting stronger. Days passed, but the fear never left me. I barely slept. Even when I did, I had nightmares. Dark figures, whispers, and that same snake always watching me. I started avoiding mirrors. I couldn't stand looking at my own reflection anymore, because I wasn't sure if what I was seeing was really me. Emily had changed too. She was distant, cold. Sometimes I would catch her staring at me in a strange way, like she was trying to recognize me, or maybe like she wasn't seeing me at all. One evening, an old friend of mine came to visit. His name was Daniel. I hadn't told many people about what was happening, but I couldn't keep it inside anymore. I told him everything, from the snake to my parents, to the shadow to the mirror. He listened quietly. He didn't laugh. He didn't call me crazy. Instead, he looked serious. After a long silence, he said something that made my blood run cold. "I think someone did this to you." I frowned. "What do you mean?" "Black magic," he said, "or something like it." I didn't believe in those things, not before. But after everything I had seen, I couldn't deny it anymore. "Do you know anyone who can help?" I asked. He nodded slowly. "I know someone, but he's not easy to reach, and what he deals with, it's dangerous." "I don't care," I said immediately. "Just bring him." That night, Daniel brought a man to my house. He was old, quiet. His face was serious, and his eyes, they felt heavy, like he had seen things no one should ever see. He didn't introduce himself. He didn't ask many questions. He just looked around the house slowly, like he was feeling something. Then he said, "Show me the room where you sleep." I led him to my bedroom. Emily was sitting on the bed. She didn't look happy about any of this. She didn't believe in these things, and I could see the anger in her eyes. But I didn't care anymore. I just wanted this to end. The old man sat on the floor and closed his eyes. He started whispering something, prayers maybe. His voice was low, steady. At first, nothing happened. But then, something changed. The air in the room became heavy, cold. The lights flickered. Emily shifted uncomfortably on the bed. I felt a pressure in my chest, like something was pushing down on me. The old man kept whispering. Faster now. Louder. And then, we heard it. A loud noise from the kitchen. Something fell. Then another. And another. Like plates crashing to the floor. My heart started racing. Daniel looked at me, but neither of us moved. The old man raised his voice. He was no longer whispering. He was commanding. Suddenly, the bathroom door slammed shut. Hard. Then it slowly opened again on its own. The lights went out. Complete darkness. And then, a scream. It was the old man. A loud, painful scream. The lights came back on. And what I saw, I will never forget. The old man was standing there, But something was wrong. His eyes were red. Not normal red, but deep dark, like something was burning inside them. He looked at me and spoke, but it wasn't his voice. It was something else. Something deep, distorted, and human. You cannot escape. My body froze. Daniel stepped back in fear. The voice continued. You belong to us. The old man's body started shaking violently. And then he collapsed. Just like that. Unconscious. The room went silent. No more noise. No more movement. Everything stopped. We rushed to him. After a few moments, he slowly opened his eyes. But now he looked normal again. Weak, tired, afraid. He looked at me, and for the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. Real fear. He stood up slowly and walked out of the room. Daniel followed him. They went outside to talk. I stayed inside, frozen. Emily didn't say a word. After a few minutes, Daniel came back. His face was pale. What did he say? I asked. Daniel hesitated. Then he spoke slowly. He said, "This is not normal black magic." My heart sank. What do you mean? He said, whatever is attached to you, it's strong, very strong. I felt my hands shaking. Can he remove it? Daniel looked at me and shook his head. He said, not now. The room felt like it was closing in on me. What does that mean? He said, the curse is still active. It hasn't finished yet. I couldn't breathe. Finished what? Daniel looked away. He didn't say everything, but he said one thing clearly. I stepped closer. What? Daniel whispered. Whoever did this wants to destroy you completely. Silence filled the room. I felt something break inside me. My parents were gone. My life was falling apart. And now this. I wasn't just being haunted. I was being targeted. That night, I sat alone in the dark, thinking, trying to remember if I ever did anything to deserve this, if I ever hurt someone, anyone, but I couldn't think of anything. And that's what scared me the most, because if I didn't do anything, then why me? And more importantly, who is behind this? As I sat there, lost in my thoughts, I heard something again. That familiar sound. A soft hiss, like a snake, coming from behind me. Slowly, getting closer. And this time, I didn't turn around, because deep inside, I knew if I looked, I might not survive what I see. That night, I didn't sleep at all. I just sat there in the dark, listening, waiting. Every small sound felt louder than it should be. Every shadow looked like it was moving. I kept thinking about what Daniel said. Someone wants to destroy you completely. But who? And why? I went over my past again and again. I tried to remember if I had ever hurt someone, cheated someone, taken something that wasn't mine. But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't find a reason. Still, this wasn't random. Everything felt planned, carefully planned. The snake, my parents, my business, everything falling apart one by one. Like someone was slowly breaking me. The next morning, I decided I couldn't stay like this anymore. I had to do something. Sitting in fear was only making things worse. I called Daniel. I need to know who did this, I told him. He was quiet for a moment, then said, there might be a way, but it's risky. I don't care, I replied. I've already lost everything. That same evening, Daniel came over again. This time, he brought something with him. A small wooden box. He placed it on the table and looked at me seriously. The man I brought yesterday, he gave me this, Daniel said. He said it might help us find answers. I looked at the box. It felt strange, like it was giving off some kind of energy. "What is it?" I asked. "He didn't explain much," Daniel said. "Just told me not to open it unless you're ready." I didn't hesitate. "I'm ready." Daniel nodded slowly. "Once we open this, there's no going back." I took a deep breath and opened the box. Inside, there was a small mirror, old, dusty, and cracked. The moment I touched it, I felt a sharp pain in my head. Images flashed in my mind, quick, blurry, but real. I saw a woman, standing in a dark room, surrounded by candles. She was whispering something, chanting. And in front of her, there was a picture. My picture. I dropped the mirror, breathing heavily. Daniel grabbed my shoulder. "What did you see?" I looked at him, my hands shaking. Someone is doing this to me," I said. "Did you see who?" he asked. I closed my eyes, trying to remember. The face, it was unclear, but something about her felt familiar. Too familiar. Before I could say anything, we heard a sound from upstairs, a loud bang, like something heavy had fallen. We both froze. Emily was upstairs. We ran immediately. When we reached the room, the door was open. The lights were flickering, and Emily was standing in the middle of the room, completely still, her head tilted to one side, her hair covering her face. "Emily," I called. No response. I stepped closer. "Emily, are you okay?" Slowly, she lifted her head. And then, she laughed. A low, disturbing laugh. Not her voice. Not even close. Daniel stepped back. "That's not her," he whispered. I felt my heart racing. "Emily, stop this." She suddenly screamed. A loud, painful scream. And then she spoke. "You finally understand." Her voice was deep and unnatural. I felt my body go cold. "Who are you?" I asked. She smiled. "You don't recognize me." My mind started spinning. That voice, it felt familiar, but I couldn't place it. "What do you want from me?" I shouted. Her smile grew wider. "Everything." Suddenly, she started walking towards me. Slow, unnatural steps. Daniel grabbed my arm. "Don't let her touch you." But I couldn't move. It felt like my body was frozen. She came closer, closer, until she was right in front of me. And then she whispered in my ear, "This is just the beginning." My vision went black. When I woke up, I was on the floor. Daniel was shaking me. "Asher, wake up." I opened my eyes slowly. Emily was lying on the bed, unconscious. "What happened?" I asked weakly. Daniel looked terrified. "She attacked you and then suddenly passed out." I sat up, my head spinning. "That wasn't her," I said. Daniel nodded. "I know." We sat there in silence. Neither of us knew what to do next. But one thing was clear. This was getting worse. Much worse. Later that night, after Daniel left, I stayed awake beside Emily, watching her, making sure she was okay. But deep inside, I was scared. Scared that she might wake up and not be herself again. Hours passed. Nothing happened. I started to relax just a little. Maybe it was over. Maybe whatever it was had left. But then, I heard it. That same sound. Tap, tap, tap. Coming from the mirror. Slowly I looked up. And what I saw made my blood freeze. There was something inside the mirror. Not just a reflection. A figure. standing behind me, watching me, smiling. And this time, it didn't disappear. It just stood there, waiting. And I realized something terrifying. It wasn't trying to scare me anymore. It was trying to come out. And I was the only thing. Standing in its way, I couldn't move. My eyes were locked on the mirror. That thing, it was still there, standing behind me, watching, smiling. Slowly, it started getting closer. Not in the room, but inside the mirror, like it was walking toward the surface. My heart was pounding so hard, I thought it would burst out of my chest. I wanted to turn around, but I was afraid that if I did, I would see it standing right behind me. Then suddenly, the mirror cracked. A thin line appeared across it. Then another, and another. I stumbled back. The sound, it was sharp, unnatural, like glass breaking from the inside. Emily suddenly gasped behind me. I turned around quickly. She sat up on the bed and breathing heavily, like she had just woken from a nightmare. Emily, I rushed to her. Are you okay? She looked at me, confused. What happened? She asked. I hesitated. Should I tell her? Could she even handle the truth? Before I could answer, she grabbed my arm tightly. Her grip was strong. Too strong. Asher, she whispered. There's something in this house. My blood ran cold. You feel it too? I asked slowly. She nodded. I've been feeling it for days, but I didn't want to scare you. I stared at her. For the first time, I realized she wasn't just a victim. She was experiencing it too. And that made everything even worse. Because now, whatever this was, it wasn't just after me. It was after both of us. That night, neither of us slept. We stayed awake, sitting together, lights on, waiting, listening. Every small sound made us jump. Every shadow felt alive. Morning finally came. But the fear didn't leave. I knew we couldn't stay in that house anymore. We need to leave, I told Emily. She didn't argue. She agreed immediately. That alone told me how serious things had become. We packed our things quickly. Didn't take much. Just the essentials. As we were about to leave, I took one last look at the house. And for a second, I thought I saw someone standing at the window, watching us. I blinked. It was gone. We got into the car and drove away. I didn't look back again. We checked into a hotel in another part of the city. For the first time in days, I felt a little relief. Maybe distance would help. Maybe whatever was in that house would stay there. But deep inside, I knew it wouldn't be that simple. That night, we tried to rest. The hotel room felt normal. Quiet. Safe. Or at least it seemed that way. Emily fell asleep quickly. But I stayed awake. Something didn't feel right. It was too quiet. Too calm. And then, I heard it. A soft hiss. My entire body froze. No. It couldn't be. Not here. I slowly turned my head. And there it was. On the floor. Near the door. A snake. The same snake. Black, long, its eyes fixed on me. I couldn't breathe. How? I whispered. We left the house. We came far away. So how was it here? The snake didn't move. It just watched me. Like it was waiting. Waiting for something. Then suddenly, it disappeared. Just like that. Gone. Like it was never there. I jumped out of bed and turned on the lights. Nothing. No snake. No sign of anything. Emily woke up. "What happened?" she asked. "I saw it again," I said. Her face turned pale. "The snake." I nodded. She didn't say anything, but I could see the fear in her eyes. That's when it hit me. This wasn't tied to the house. It was tied to me. I was the target. No matter where I went, it would follow. The next morning, I called Daniel again. "We left the house, but it's still happening," I told him. There was a long silence on the other end. Then he said something that made my heart sink. "I was afraid of that." "What do you mean?" "It means you're not being haunted by a place," he said. "You're being followed." I closed my eyes, trying to process it. "So what do I do now?" I asked. Daniel took a deep breath. "There's only one way now." "What?" "You have to face it." My chest tightened. "Face what?" "The source," he said. "The person who started all of this." My mind went back to the vision I saw in the mirror. The woman. The candles. The ritual. "You think we can find her?" I asked. Daniel replied slowly. "I think she wants you to find her." A chill ran down my spine. "What do you mean?" "Think about it," he said. "All of this, the snake, the visions, the mirror, it's not just random attacks. It's leading you somewhere." I stayed silent, because deep inside, I knew he was right. This wasn't just about fear. This was a message, a path, and I was being forced to follow it. That night I couldn't sleep again. I kept thinking about everything. The snake, my parents, Emily, the mirror, the woman. It all connected somehow. I just couldn't see how yet. And then, around 3 a.m., I got the answer. I woke up suddenly, sweating, my heart racing. Another vision, stronger than before, clearer. I saw the woman again. But this time, I saw her face. And when I recognized her, I felt like my world shattered. Because I knew her. I knew exactly who she was. And that made everything so much worse. Because the person behind all of this was someone I trusted. That night I couldn't calm my mind. The face I saw in the vision haunted me relentlessly. I knew it. I recognized her immediately. She wasn't a stranger. She was someone from my past, someone I had trusted deeply. Memories flashed back, small moments that didn't make sense before, but now they fit together. Subtle threats, whispers, strange coincidences, all of them pointed to her. I confronted Daniel the next morning. "Do you know her?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He hesitated. "I have a feeling who it is, but I've never seen her do something like this before. Whoever she is, she's dangerous, and she's very good at hiding." I felt a chill run down my spine. "Then we have to find her," I said. Daniel nodded grimly. "Yes, but you have to understand something. This isn't just a fight of strength. It's a battle of mind, spirit, and courage. She knows you. She knows your fears, and she will use everything against you." I swallowed hard. "I don't care. I've lost everything already. I won't run anymore." He studied me silently for a few moments. Finally, he said, "Then we begin tonight." That evening, he brought a set of old tools, charms, and a talisman he said would protect me. Emily looked at me skeptically. She had never believed in anything like this before, but seeing the fear in my eyes, she finally stayed silent and agreed to help. We prepared the house the way Daniel instructed. Candles in a circle, protective symbols on doors and windows, herbs burned in every corner. The air felt heavier as the night deepened. Around midnight it began. A low hiss filled the room, the same sound I had heard countless times before. Shadows stretched unnaturally along the walls. The temperature dropped sharply, my breath visible in the air. Then she appeared. The woman from my vision, standing at the edge of the room, her eyes glowing with dark intent. She smiled, an eerie, inhuman smile that made my blood run cold. "Did you really think you could escape me?" she hissed. I felt Emily tense behind me. Daniel whispered, "Remember the talisman, focus." I clutched it tightly. I tried to push all fear aside, but it was difficult. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to hide, to give up. She began chanting dark words that twisted the air. The shadows around her grew thick, almost solid, reaching for us. I yelled, "Now, Daniel." He began reciting the counter prayers, the chants we had prepared. The talisman glowed faintly in my hand, a warm light pushing back against the oppressive darkness. The woman screamed. Her shadow twisted violently, clawing at the light, but it couldn't pass. Emily stepped forward unexpectedly. "Stop hurting him," she shouted, though her voice wavered. Her sudden courage surprised me, and the woman's expression faltered, just for a second. That split second was all we needed. Daniel thrust his hand forward, and the talisman released a burst of light. The shadows shrieked, curling into themselves. The woman's form became unstable, flickering like a broken image. "No," she cried. And then she vanished. Silence fell. The air slowly returned to normal. The temperature rose. The oppressive weight lifted. For the first time in months, I could breathe freely. I looked at Emily. She was trembling but alive. Daniel wiped sweat from his forehead. "It's not completely gone," he said. "These things leave traces, but the immediate danger is over." I sank to the floor, exhausted. My body shook, my mind racing, but relief, real relief, flooded me. For the first time, I understood something crucial. Whatever darkness had attacked me, it had underestimated one thing: my will to survive and the people who stood with me. That night I slept for the first time in weeks, fully aware that the path ahead would be long and healing would take time. But one thing was certain: I had faced the source, I had survived, and I was no longer a passive victim. Some battles leave scars that never fade, but surviving them gives a strength no one can take away. And as I drifted into a long, deep sleep, I felt it. For the first time in a long time, I was free the next morning. Sunlight poured into the room, and for a moment, everything felt normal again. Emily sat on the edge of the bed, rubbing her temples, while I brewed coffee, trying to reclaim some sense of routine. Daniel had left early, saying he needed to prepare a report of protective measures in case the woman, or whatever force she controlled, tried to return. I knew he was right. The battle was over, but the war might not be completely finished. I walked through the hotel room slowly, examining the small cracks in the walls, the shadows in the corners, the ordinary furniture that had somehow become a battleground of fear. Every object now carried a memory, a warning. Emily looked up at me. "Asher, what happens if she comes back?" she asked quietly. I set down the coffee and met her gaze. "Then we'll be ready. We know her tricks now. We've survived her attempts. We're stronger than before." She nodded, but I could see the lingering fear in her eyes. That fear was justified. We had lived through something unimaginable. Later that day, I called my lawyer about the store. The documents that my former manager had falsified were complicated, but with proof from my own records, plus Daniel's notes about the strange happenings, we managed to start reclaiming control. It was slow, but progress felt like a small victory. At night, Emily and I sat on the balcony, looking out over the city lights. For the first time in months, I could talk about ordinary things, work, family, trivial daily events, without feeling like darkness was pressing down on us. Then Daniel called. "Asher, I need you to come to my office. I found something." I felt a chill run down my spine, but this time it was different. I was cautious, not paralyzed. When I arrived, Daniel showed me an old book, brittle with age, filled with handwritten symbols. "This belonged to her," he said, pointing at the woman in a photograph that had fallen out of the pages. "It details rituals, binding spells, everything she used. But there's more. There's a way to sever her connection completely. Permanent protection. It will take time, but it's possible." Relief washed over me. "So she can never come back?" I asked. Daniel nodded slowly. "If we do this right, yes, but it won't be easy. You'll have to confront the remnants of her power again, and she'll resist. It's like cutting a root from deep underground. You have to be precise." I clenched my fists. "Then let's do it. I'm done running." That night we began preparations. Candles, talismans, protective circles, all in meticulous order. Emily stayed close, holding my hand when the air seemed to thicken. As midnight approached, a faint hiss echoed in the room. The shadows started to stretch again, thinner this time, weaker, but they were there. I stood firm. Daniel started reciting the incantations from the book. Emily repeated protective phrases I barely understood but felt in her heart. The shadows shrieked, twisting in agony as the light from the talismans cut through them. For hours we maintained the ritual. Exhausted, I stumbled but didn't fall. Emily kept me steady. And finally, when the first rays of dawn broke over the horizon, the shadows dissipated completely. A silence unlike any I had ever experienced settled over the room. No hiss, no shifting shadows, no eyes in the mirror, only calm. I looked at Emily. She smiled softly, exhausted but relieved. "We did it," she whispered. I nodded, my own voice caught in my throat. "Yes, we did it." That day I realized something profound. The darkness we faced was terrifying, relentless, and cunning, but it could be defeated. Fear alone does not control life. Courage, unity, and resolve do. And though the memories of what happened would never fully fade, they became a source of strength rather than weakness. For the first time, I could finally plan for the future, knowing that no matter what came next, I had survived, and I would survive again. The journey was far from over, but now, for the first time in a long while, hope existed. And hope, I realized, was the most powerful force of all. The following weeks were a strange mix of relief and unease. Life slowly returned to a fragile normal. Emily and I began unpacking the remnants of our old routine, cautiously restoring our home with small touches of comfort. Yet, despite everything, a quiet tension lingered in the air, a reminder that what we had faced wasn't ordinary. I returned to the store, determined to reclaim what was rightfully mine. Each day brought small victories, old contracts reinstated, dishonest employees confronted, and inventory carefully accounted for. It was exhausting, but productive work grounded me, keeping my mind from spiraling back into fear. Emily and I spent time together, talking about things we had ignored for months. Everyday conversations, meals, laughter, small jokes felt like medicine. Slowly, we rebuilt a fragile sense of normalcy, even though the shadows of the past occasionally crept into our thoughts. One evening, as I sorted through some old documents at the store, my phone rang. It was Daniel. "Asher," he said, voice serious, "I need to warn you. While the immediate threat is gone, I've discovered traces of her magic elsewhere, connected to objects she left behind. She may have attempted to extend her influence beyond what we destroyed." My stomach tightened. "So she's not entirely gone?" Daniel sighed. "No, but the traces are weak. If you and Emily continue the protective measures, maintain the talismans, and stay aware, you should be safe. The key is vigilance." That night I showed Emily the new protective arrangements Daniel recommended. We followed them carefully. Talismans in every room, chalked circles in strategic corners, protective herbs burned nightly. Months passed. Slowly the dread faded. Sleep returned deep and untroubled. The house felt like a home again. Emily laughed more freely. I smiled more easily. Even the store, once a battlefield of deceit, began to thrive. Yet I never forgot the lessons of that dark period. Fear is a powerful force, but understanding it, confronting it, and uniting with those you trust can diminish even the most terrifying threats. Then one quiet evening, while sitting on the balcony with Emily, I noticed a faint shimmer in the corner of the room, a reflection, subtle, almost imperceptible. My heart skipped, but then I realized it wasn't her. It was the mirror she had once used to invade our lives, now neutralized, harmless. I laughed softly, a sound of triumph, relief, and closure. Emily took my hand, squeezing it. "We made it," she said. "Yes," I replied. "We survived, and nothing will control us again." For the first time in years, I felt truly free. Free from fear, free from manipulation, free from shadows that once haunted every corner of my life. The darkness had tried to break us, but it failed. And though the memories remained, they no longer held power over me. They were reminders of courage, resilience, and the unyielding human spirit. The world outside continued, full of ordinary troubles and challenges, but nothing could ever shake the bond and strength we had forged through that ordeal. The nightmare was over, and I was finally truly alive. Even with the immediate danger gone, life didn't instantly return to its old rhythm. Every shadow, every sudden sound, every fleeting reflection made me flinch. Emily noticed it first. "You're still tense," she said one morning, gently touching my shoulder. I nodded, rubbing my eyes. "I know, I can't just forget everything that happened." We decided to take a small trip out of the city, to a quiet lakeside cabin. Hopping the change of scenery would help us heal. The drive was long, but the fresh air and open sky offered a strange comfort. It was the first time in months I felt my chest loosen. The cabin was isolated, surrounded by tall pines. At night, the silence was profound. Stars lit the sky like scattered diamonds. It felt safe, peaceful. But even there, I was cautious. Daniel had advised keeping protective charms with us, and we did. At night, Emily and I sat on the porch, whispering our fears, sharing dreams, and slowly unpacking the emotional weight we'd carried for so long. One night, as we watched the lake shimmer under the moonlight, I felt a presence, soft, almost imperceptible, like a whisper brushing against the edge of consciousness. My heart raced. Emily noticed my unease. "What is it?" I shook my head. "I don't know, maybe it's just nerves, maybe old habits." But deep down, I knew better. Even though the woman's power had been diminished, the world we lived in now seemed to hold echoes of what had happened, tiny ripples that reminded us of how fragile safety can be. We spent the next days exploring, laughing, reconnecting, and rediscovering the simple joys of life. The forest, the lake, the sound of birds, it all felt like a balm to our frayed nerves. At night, we kept the lights low but never entirely off, a reminder to respect what we had survived. Each night, I checked the talismans, the protective circles, the charms. Each night, I felt slightly stronger, more confident. And slowly, the fear that had gripped me for so long began to lose its hold. It was still there in the edges of my mind, but it no longer dominated my life. I realized that surviving such darkness didn't mean forgetting it. It meant living despite it, carrying the lessons forward. One morning, as we packed to leave the cabin, Emily turned to me, eyes bright. "We made it this far, Asher. We really did." I smiled, feeling a weight lift from my shoulders. "Yes, we did. And from now on, we face everything together." For the first time, I truly believed it. Whatever challenges awaited in life, ordinary or extraordinary, we would face them as one. Fear could visit us, but it could no longer control us. The journey had been long, harrowing, and unimaginable. But through courage, trust, and persistence, we had reclaimed our lives. And with that, I finally understood. Surviving darkness gives you a perspective no one can take away. A reminder that even when everything seems lost, hope and resilience can light the way. Past and life slowly began to feel normal again. The shadows, the hissing, the visions, they were memories now, haunting only in the quiet moments. Emily and I settled into a rhythm: work, small outings, evenings spent together in calm. I returned fully to managing the store. The legal disputes were finally resolved in my favor, and my former manager faced consequences for his deceit. Step by step, order returned to my life. Every day I walked through the aisles, checking inventory, meeting customers, and managing staff. I felt a sense of accomplishment that went beyond mere money. It was proof I could rebuild, that I could survive the chaos and take back control. Emily and I grew closer than ever. The trauma we had endured forged a bond that could not be broken. We laughed more freely, shared dreams we had shelved for months, and began planning our future together. Even the smallest joys, a cup of coffee in the morning, a walk in the park, the city lights at night, felt like miracles. One evening, while locking up the store, I paused and looked around. No shadows, no whispers, no unease, just the familiar world I had once taken for granted. For the first time in years, I felt completely safe. That night, Emily and I sat on our balcony, looking at the stars. I held her hand and realized how far we had come. The darkness had tried to destroy us, but it had failed. "Do you think it's really over?" Emily asked softly. I smiled, squeezing her hand. "Yes, whatever it was, it no longer has power over us. We've survived, and that makes us stronger than anything it could throw at us." The nightmares, the fear, the snake, the mirror, they were part of my past now. But I carried the lessons with me: courage, vigilance, and the strength that comes from facing your darkest fears. And as I looked at Emily's peaceful face, I knew one thing with absolute certainty: no matter what life brings, we will face it together. Fear may visit, but it will no longer rule us. The shadows had tried to claim my life, my family, and my spirit, but they had failed, and in that failure I found freedom. From that night onward, I slept deeply, laughed fully, and lived without hesitation. The darkness had tested me, but it could not break me. And now, with Emily by my side, I truly knew what it meant to be alive. The nightmare was over, the light had returned, and I was finally completely free.